Hello my friends, this is Alien Contactee Linol Anderson here with you guys with a brand new YouTube BitChute video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Great Solar Flash Plasma Apocalypse event that is coming. And along with that comes the Great Matrix Reset and the 5D Ascension event, the Great Awakening, Nibiru, the pole shift, all that's happening, my friends, and we're going to get into all that today. Alright, so get ready to go down a rabbit hole. So before we get into it, I'm just going to encourage you guys to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy today's video. As I say, subscribe to survive, and also smash the like button. Help Soul Linol out with the algorithms. So I got inspired to do this video today because, you know, a lot of crazy stuff happening in our world, especially when it comes to weather events, everything we had a couple weeks ago there with the Florida situation, with the hurricanes and whatnot. And you guys, if you saw my last video, you'll see how we talked about how a lot of this is due to the solar activity. Alright? And I know there's a big debate in the truth community. A lot of people thinking this is all man-made and HARP and everything. But nobody's talking about what's going on with the sun. And then we have this Aurora Borealis, Northern Lights, that was seen worldwide. And a lot of people do not even believe it came from the sun. They think it was all man-made and HARP. And I got a lot of hatred for talking about how this came from the sun and the massive X-class flares we had in the massive solar storm. That's right, I took a lot of abuse for that from people who don't really understand what's going on in the bigger picture, and they're falling for these psyops. So I decided to make a whole video on the topic about what's happening to educate those people who do not understand that what is happening goes way beyond any man-made technologies and weather manipulations. I'm not denying that weather manipulation is real and that they have technology to manipulate the weather and to create artificial aurora borealis, all that. I'm not denying that, but just because they may have those technologies does not mean that the sun is not real, like a lot of people are trying to say, which is insanity, and that we're not experiencing crazy solar events. What you guys got to realize is that the Earth's magnetic poles are weakening, okay? So when these solar flares come through, that's why you're seeing the Aurora Borealis all over the world, all right? And a lot of people, they want to say, oh, solar flares aren't real, the sun, it's not a big flaming ball of fire and stuff, and hey, I agree, the sun is not what you think it is, okay? The sun is a portal within the simulation. Okay, we're in a simulation, and there is the firmament, which is the dome, whatever you want to call it. The sun is inside of that, and it is a portal outside the simulation. And the energy coming through is plasma, okay? And these solar flares is actually this high vibrational plasma energy coming from outside the simulation. Some people say it comes from what's known as the Grand Central Sun. And these are high vibrational energies that are coming down and hitting the planet, all right? And this affects our world, and it can affect our weather. But it's also directly linked to higher states of consciousness, Great Awakening. People are having Kundalini type symptoms, spiritual awakenings worldwide in numbers that we've never seen before. All right? And it's very interesting because a guy named David Wilcock, which I want to make it clear, I do not agree with everything this man says, but he did have some interesting things to say about the sun years ago. So I want to show you what he had to say about the events that would be taking place. That's happening now. Take a look.
I would want the world to know about Ascension. I would want the world to know that we are very, very close And all the people on the inside know this. This is the key of disclosure. We are very close to some sort of energetic shift the sun is going to do. There have already been multiple experiments, I've heard this from several insiders, in which they take ordinary folks and they put them into a room and they zap them with the energy that our sun is going to give off when we go through this change. Become very blissed out. They start to get really telepathic. They can move things with their mind. Everybody kind of goes into a psychedelic trip. Our government knows that this is going to happen, where there's no veil left, where we are wide open to reality.
There you go, and good point at the beginning there. It said on the video there, yeah, why do you think Bill Gates wants to block the sun? Right? It's because they know this ascension event is coming. They want to block these energies from coming in. But as he said, people are going to start experiencing like psychedelic type symptoms, okay? Because that's what's happening. Our third eyes are opening. Well, my friends, this is how I know this isn't any man-made technologies, especially with what happened the other night when we saw the auroras all over the earth. Because I'm telling you, I have an active kundalini, okay? I've released my kundalini energy, and I'm very sensitive to energies. And every time these solar storms come through, especially the other night, I'm having what David Wilcock talked about. That's how I know he's not making crap up about that. When these energies hit with these solar storms, I feel like I'm in another dimension, okay? I'm seeing grids, I'm seeing patterns, just like a psychedelic trip. And it's easy to astral travel for me at that time. It's a very spiritual experience. And it's just not me who's experiencing this. Millions of people worldwide are experiencing this. And I don't think HARP or any of these man-made technologies is going to lead to awakening experiences, spiritual experiences. I think, if anything, it would be negative effects you'd be feeling, okay? So if you're one of these people who are out there sharing all this stuff about HARP and saying it's not from the sun and all that means is, unfortunately, and this doesn't apply to everybody, but it does apply to a big majority, unfortunately, you're not spiritually advanced at this point. And you probably have a closed third eye. Because if you don't feel any of the energies that are coming in right now, which we're being bombarded, that means your pineal gland is blocked, it's calcified, okay? And it means you're pretty much cut off from source at the moment, okay? Unfortunately, that's what it means. And it is what some people will refer to as an NPC. It doesn't mean that you don't have a soul. You still have a soul, okay? But it just means you haven't been activated yet, okay? And that is why people are sitting here and they're falling for psyops, every little psyop that comes through, like the HARP one. You know, HARP, yes, it's a real thing. Yes, it could manipulate weather, whatever, okay? Doesn't change the fact it's a psyop. Nobody asks, how did HARP get so well known? Like, that's all that's on my Facebook feed. That's all anybody could talk about is HARP, HARP, HARP. Well, where do you think HARP came from that everybody knows about it? Well, believe it or not, it was made popular by appearing on the History Channel. Mainstream television, see? There you go. You could watch the episode on weather manipulation here on YouTube. Just type in History Channel HARP. Okay? Very interesting. A lot of people will never listen to anything the show Ancient Aliens has to say, which was also on the History Channel, and they say, it's propaganda, it's on mainstream television, it's on History Channel, so it's a psyop. Okay, fair enough. But the exact same people who will refuse to watch Ancient Aliens because of the History Channel are the same people who are sharing memes and information about HARP. So, if it's aliens, psyop. But if it's on the History Channel, it's HARP. Oh, that's real. PSYOP. And another guy who is spreading information about HARP is Jesse Ventura. This guy here.
Only got a few elections to go. I'm 73 years old now, so the window's closing. I want to be alive to see the first woman president of the United States of America and the first woman commander-in-chief, and we've got her right now.
That's right, he's supporting Kamala. Of course, Jesse Ventura was a governor as well, a U.S. governor years ago, so he's a politician, and he's also a WWE wrestler, or WWF back then. He also promoted the thing they want you to get for, what happened a few years ago. Yeah, he was promoting that. So you got a Kamala Harris supporter, guy who promotes the thingamajiggy. Well, he had a show back in the day called Conspiracy Theory. And in that show, he did an episode on HAARP. So the History Channel and Jesse Ventura told people about HAARP. It took off. Now it's all over social media. Even mainstream news is covering it, debunking it. They're still giving it the light of day. So I think it's safe to say that even though it's real, weather manipulation is real, it is a psyop, okay? And I don't get how people aren't questioning those things. How that's not even raising red flags with people. But I think I know why, actually. Because people, for the most part, they're Facebook educated, okay? They get all their facts from Facebook, which aren't really facts. It's just whatever's trending. And they don't do real, actual research to find out what's happening in the world. They just look at a meme, or they'll watch the History Channel, and they don't dig deeper. Well, that's what we're doing today, okay? We're digging deeper. So all one person has to do is study history to find out that even the ancients, okay, spoke about the sun. Okay, all these ancient religions, even the religions we have today, Christianity, all of that is all based on sun worship. They knew about the sun, okay? So let's take a look at a couple of clips that will talk about the ancients speaking about how important the sun was, and then we'll elaborate on that. But before we do, I just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, okay? And this is for DETOX. Because I was just saying before, a lot of people have not been activated yet. That's because they're filled with poisons, pretty much, okay? So one way that you could cleanse your temple, purify your temple, decalcify your pineal gland is by detoxing the body. So that's the first step. If you want to start feeling the energies coming in and having these spiritual awakenings, is to detox your body. So wanted to give a huge shout out to our sponsors at OWELI. This is the liver detox. Our liver is our main detoxifier, okay? If the liver isn't detoxified, then nothing's going to detoxify pretty much, okay? So you detox the liver, it'll flush everything out, including the old nanotechnologies and everything. And it's a potent detoxifier. And you could also do a colon cleanse, which will flush it all out and also remove parasites, because we've been riddled with parasites. These are organic, non-GMO supplements, okay? The best around. The link is down below in the description box. Definitely check it out. There's also a coupon code for 15% off and free shipping in the United States, okay? It helps support the channel, and your body and your spiritual being will thank you for that. All right, so check it out. So I wanted to show you guys a couple videos now that show how all these ancient religions and whatnot spoke about the sun. Take a look.
So many people today are now beginning to see that their ancient and highly venerated religions are merely part of a world continuation of a same story, the greatest story ever told. Now, the ancient Egyptians pictured the sun had wings, and we see it, the sun is rolling across heaven. The sun in India and the Hindu worship of the sun. Now here we have the Inca priest kneeling on an altar and offering up the wine in the altar to the sun god. The same you will see in Japan, you'll see in England. They're singing praises and a hymn to the rising sun, the wood carving picture of the Jews and worshiping the sun. And here again is the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they're writing about their Savior, the Son. Because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is spring, summer, autumn, winter. The four seasons are symbolically represented by four Gospels. This is a very important book showing that the sun in the church today, cathedrals are solar observatories. Now, of course, in India, the most important sun god in India was Krishna. We know that the Jesuits, when they went into India back in the 1500s, they learned very quickly the whole religion of God's Son, the light of the world in India, who was Krishna. And they came back and infiltrated those teachings and concepts into what we call Christianity. This is the work of the church borrowing the stories from the ancient world of sun gods who died on the cross.
All right, there you have it, my friends. So very interesting indeed. That was just a couple examples. Like I said, if you look throughout pretty much every ancient religion, it talks about it. You know, I got a nice little picture right here that I got straight from Egypt. This is actually papyrus. You got Akhenaten. There's the sun, okay? Of course, the Bible talks about how there's going to be signs in the sky and whatnot. Take a look. There you go, signs in the sun, the moon, the stars, which would include Aurora Borealis, okay? I just find it ridiculous that people do not consider the sun having a major impact in everything that's going on today. They want to blame some weak man-made technologies when we got the most potent, powerful source of energy that heats our entire Earth, makes things grow, all this kind of stuff. We need it to survive. That's energy coming in. That's way more powerful than HAARP or any of this stuff. And people don't even think to question if that is what's happening right now. If it's connected to that, they just want to blame man-made technologies. My friends, these are cycles.
Marked the spot of the acceleration of this ongoing magnetic pole shift or geomagnetic excursion that, again, is due every 6,000 years and is due right now. With this information, we were no longer speculating about what has happened over the last 13 or 14 months. The data is now in. We had a major acceleration in March of 2023. It is the reason why we are having new and unprecedented types of geomagnetic disturbance. It's the reason why we're breaking auroral records. It's the reason why this weekend there is a 10 to 15% chance that we're going to get the solar kill shot, whereas 20 years ago we would be saying, hey, this is kind of significant. If you get a chance and there's no clouds in the sky, go outside, see if you can see the northern lights. This is going to be quite the wallop we're taking for the sun. But we're on another level now with this, and it's because, as we had been guessing for the last 6 to 8 months, the magnetic field, the magnetic pole shift is accelerating, it's weakening, and we are basically on a pretty solid downward spiral.
Our realm acts on cycles. This is all stuff that we studied throughout history, and of course the ancients have told us all about this. That's why in the Bible and other mythologies you always have end of world type scenarios, because it's talking about the end of this cycle in Revelations, Armageddon, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then New Jerusalem, new heavens, new earth. That's because it's going to get reset. The great matrix reset is connected to the Phoenix event. It's connected to the Nibiru, okay? All of that is connected. All this happens at the end of time, and it all affects the sun, and eventually you're going to have a great solar flash event, okay? And what it comes down to is there's going to be a group of people who put in the work, who put their spirituality first, who detoxified their bodies, who gotten that vibration or that frequency of love, okay, and activated themselves, and they got activated by the sun itself. Those are the people who are going to ascend to the New Jerusalem, or whatever you want to call it, okay? I was just using a biblical term, but I'm just saying that's the people who are going to make it out of here. Rapture, whatever you want to call it, okay? That's a very small minority of people at this point in time who's actually at that point of making it. The majority of humanity is still stuck in ego consciousness and a lower consciousness. And for those people, the majority, unfortunately, they're going to be recycled into the new simulation, the new Earth here on where we're at now. And they're just going to have to continue suffering in this hell realm. That's why civilizations rise and fall. This has happened many times, okay? This is the nature of our reality. But at the end of every cycle, there is an opportunity for those who put in the work and evolved enough in their spirituality, who are finally ready to let go of the ego to make it out of here. All right? So that's what's going on. And that's why you're seeing everything in the world go so crazy. It's because of what's going on with the sun. That's why you also see the Great Awakening event. That's why you're seeing the Aurora Borealis, because the poles are weakening. Which, stay tuned to the end, because I'm going to be showing a lady speaking about how the poles are weakening and how that actually fits into the flat earth model or the simulation theory. A lot of people say, there's no such thing as poles and whatnot. Again, they don't understand the true nature of this reality. They don't understand what the sun truly is, so she's going to explain it very well. But before we get to her video speaking about it, I had another thing I want to talk about, because with all this stuff going on, we also have entities coming out of the sun, okay? Plasma entities. And it's very interesting because even mainstream science is starting to leak this information to us and starting to tell us that, yeah, the aliens are real, but it's coming from the sun. Okay, and I even have a personal experience to share. But first, we'll take a look at a video where this lady shows how mainstream is starting to tell us, leak this information. Okay, and then we're going to look at old sources that aren't mainstream, that go back a long time, speaking about the exact same thing, something that's biblical. So take a look.
Okay, so NASA shuttles have recently recorded a mysterious lifelike entity in space. Is this proof of extraterrestrial life, or is this a new understanding of matter? I have gotten so many DMs about this, so let's talk about this scientific research paper. Extraterrestrial life in the thermosphere. So they've been observing what they're calling plasmas up to 1 kilometer in size. That's more than a half-mile in size. And they've been displaying behaviors that are not associated with inanimate objects in space, like interacting with each other. So they've been photographed congregating, diving into thunderstorms, gathering around satellites, approaching and appearing outside of the windows of NASA space shuttles, following and even colliding and intersecting with one another. Others engage in what appear to be hunter-predatory behavior, tracking, then accelerating and piercing other plasmas, displaying characteristics of lifelike plasmas. It even speculates that the Foo Fighters in the 1940s might be what this was. During World War II, unidentified objects, described as glowing orbs, would follow pilots and create formations around them. Okay, so what is plasma? It's basically a super hot gas, and it's the fourth state of matter, meaning solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Okay, so let's say ice is a solid. You heat it up, it becomes water, liquid. You heat it more, it becomes steam, essentially gas. And if you were to heat it up more and more and more, that would be plasma. Plasma is very affected by the magnetic fields. It can create its own electric and magnetic fields, and it sometimes emits light. Scientists believe that the sun is basically a giant ball of plasma. Things like Aurora Borealis is caused by plasma. So it's interesting seeing it display lifelike behaviors, which suggests that plasma might be more complex than originally thought. So is part of the reason we haven't been able to find alien life is because we're looking in the wrong place? So us and every known living thing, from tiny bacteria to every single thing on Earth, we're carbon-based life. It means we're built around carbon atoms. And we also need water to survive. What if there's plasma-based life? And this is where the intelligent plasma hypothesis comes in, which suggests that the fourth state of matter can actually be the building block for a unique form of life. In 2007, plasma crystals were discovered, and that these plasma crystals can actually twist and create a double helix that resembles DNA. This suggests that it can store information, display lifelike behaviors, and can change our understanding of life in the universe. Now, the paper speculates that this is not life itself, that it's pre-life, or another possible origin of life that would not be carbon-based. Now, some are saying this is exciting news, that this is great news for us who want alien disclosure. However, this plasma thing is not new at all. These plasma theories have been used for a long time to debunk UFO experiencers, specifically the work of Philip Klass. Now, if we look at some CIA declassified documents, we can find this article from Force magazine from 1968, where they talk about Philip Klass's explanation for UFO phenomenon, that UFOs are simply electrified plasma of air, where literally it says all of the same exact stuff. How can they be so large? How can they maneuver and appear to be intelligent? And that the plasma theory is the most plausible explanation for UFOs. Another CIA document from 1988 talks about a UFO sighting in China, which was later debunked to just be an ionized ball of gas, plasma. So even though this seems like an exciting new revelation, it's giving just a weather balloon, old school debunker energy. Even the metallic air bubble, since the Pentagon hasn't been able to explain the metallic orbs flying all over the world, such as this one, for example, even brings up the 120 incidents witnessed by military pilots. But we live in an atmosphere that is mostly made of gas, like the air that we breathe. So whenever there's a lot of electrical energy, it can turn gas into plasma, such as solar flares, eclipses, waxing and waning of sunlight, radiation from radio transmitters. If there was a UFO using some type of advanced technology, then the gas, the air around it, could actually create plasma. And this is called a coronal discharge. So just because there's plasma doesn't mean that there's not also a UFO causing the gas around it to turn into plasma.
There you go, my friends. Very interesting, wouldn't you say? And I gotta say that I've had experiences with these beings, okay, myself. I am psychic, I am the contactee, as you guys know, and I'm very sensitive to energies. And when these solar storms come in and the energy is very high, I've had experiences in the past, actually, with these plasma entities. And this plasma entity is known as, somebody you might have heard before, Archangel Michael. That's right. Laying there in bed one night, and a big blue orb, a plasma-looking orb of light comes into my room, floats above me, and I feel this immense feeling of love. Okay, it was such a high vibrational, beautiful feeling. I felt it from within me, and it pretty much revealed itself to be Archangel Michael. Went on to say I'm protected and all these beautiful things. Okay. And after that experience, I was like, oh, that's absolutely amazing. And I still, this was a couple of years ago, I didn't know what to think of it. I didn't even know it was a plasma entity at the time. I just figured, oh, it's an orb. Well, that's what these beings are. They're coming to the sun, and they're like spiritual orb, celestial plasma beings, as you can see that lady just talked about. Well, not too long ago, last year, I got this book, Manly P. Hall's Secret Teaching of All Ages. This book was written back in 1927, I believe. Okay, yeah, it's an old book. Okay, very old book. Something like that. It's back in the 1900s. I think it was 1927. But there's a whole section on inhabitants from the sun where he goes on to confirm that these are indeed the archangels and Archangel Michael. So I actually have a Ascend to 5D class I made, or maybe it was an occult class that was on my Patreon, and I read what he said about it. So I got a clip of it. I'm going to show you guys what Manly P. Hall said in this book. Here's the clip speaking about what he said. Just to show, it's interesting how mainstream science is now pretty much out in the open telling us, but you could actually see this goes back to the 1900s, but he's getting his information from ancient times, ancient civilizations, secret societies. Go back hundreds and thousands of years, they've been telling us this. Plus my own personal experience. I think it's safe to say that's what's going on. Take a look. So the celestial inhabitants of the sun, the Rosicrucians and the Illuminati, describing the angels and the archangels and other celestial creatures, declared that they resembled small suns. Being centers of radiant energy surrounded by streamers of virilic force. From these outpouring streamers of force is derived the popular belief that angels have wings. These wings are corona-like fans of light, okay? They are not actual wings the way you think they are. They are corona-like fans of light, by means of which the celestial creatures propel themselves through the subtle essences of the superphysical worlds. True mystics are unanimous in their denial of the theory that the angels and archangels are human in form, as so often pictured. It's always religion showing you those pictures of the angels with the wings who are like human form. It's not like that at all. A human figure would be utterly useless in the ethereal substances through which they manifest. Science has long debated the probability of the other planets being inhabited. Objections to the idea are based upon the argument that creatures with human organisms could not possibly exist in the environments of Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune. This argument fails to take into account nature's universal law of adjustment to the environment. The ancients asserted that life originated from the sun, and that everything, when bathed in the light of the solar orb, was capable of absorbing the solar life elements and later radiating them as flora and fauna. One philosophical concept regarding the sun as a as a parent, and the planets as embryos, still connected to the solar body by means of ethereal umbilical cords, which served as channels to convey life and nourishment to the planets. Which makes sense, right? Because what do we get from the sun? We get all the energy, things grow, we are connected to the sun. And humans, we get our vitamin D, and it's got so many health benefits. We're all connected to that sun. Some secret orders have taught that the sun was inhabited by a race of creatures with bodies composed of a radiant spiritual ether, not unlike in its constituency, whatever that means. He uses a lot of tough words in here. The actual glowing ball of the sun itself. The solar heat had no harmful effect upon them, upon these beings, because their organisms were sufficiently refined and sensitized to harmonious with the sun's tremendous vibratory rate. These creatures resemble miniature suns, beings a little larger than a dinner plate in size, although some of the more powerful are considerably larger. Their color is the golden white light of the sun, and from them emanate 4 streamers of viril. These streamers are often of great length and are in constant motion. Peculiar palpitation is to be noted throughout the structure of the globe and is communicated in the form of ripples to the emanating streamers. The greatest and most luminous of these spheres is the Archangel Michael and the entire order of solar life, which resembles him and dwell upon the sun, are called by modern Christians the archangels or the spirits of light. So it's saying here that Archangel Michael is a sun being, which is interesting. There you go, my friends. Very interesting. And I also got a couple pictures here just to show you that Archangel Michael indeed was always related to the sun. Take a look. There you go. So Archangel Michael is pretty much code for beings from the sun. It's not just one specific person. I know the Bible made it seem like that, and there are imposters who pretend to be the Archangel Michael who aren't really him. Reptilian shapeshifters most likely. But what it comes down to is the true collective Archangel Michael are actually just these beings from the sun, and for the most part they are very benevolent beings. I must say they're here to help assist us through this transformation, and for those on the Ascension timeline, they're going to divinely protect us and help us, so we have a healthy exit of the matrix. But for those who are not on the 3D timeline, you could see these beings coming in, and just the energy itself, it's going to be part of the things that resets this realm. But you could see it as a purifying, because a lot of the people who don't make it, they are at a lower vibrational frequency, and a lot of them are the people who are destroying the earth. So you could see it as a purification, a cleansing. But end of the day, we are all eternal beings. They're going to have their shot next round. Okay, we're in a video game pretty much. Okay, my friends, we're in a simulation, a game, and this is just how it works. At the end of the game, there's this great solar flash event, okay, that shifts the poles, and all these crazy things happen, and then you either ascend and you beat the game and you go on to another game or another level of the game, or you restart the game and you start at the beginning of civilization again. Okay. But unfortunately in this game, it's also being used to harvest people's low vibrational energy for the demonic AI that runs this realm, the ancient demiurge AI, and the reptilians and other archons. Okay? So that's why it's very important that we do our best to raise our frequency and not give them our louche suffering energy. So yes, we could escape this realm and eventually shift the collective, so we cut off their food source, so eventually, someday, this game will come to an end for the evil powers that be, and we could do away with this game once and for all, because it is violating our free will and our consent and whatnot. Okay, technically they get our free will and consent in many ways by trickery, but we know it's not fair. Okay, it's a big deception. It's got to be shut down. So with that being said, I promised to show you guys a video. We're going to end today's video with this lady who's pretty much telling us how things are, how this all works with the magnetosphere and the poles and the true nature of our reality, pretty much. Okay, explaining it and how it fits into the simulation flat earth model, because a lot of people say, oh, it's not true because flat earth or whatever. Well, now you're gonna see. You guys just gotta dig deeper. You're almost there, but you didn't go far enough to understand what this realm truly is. Because remember, flat earth as well as a psyop too, they like to give us bits and pieces of truth but then put misdirection in. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I'm gonna show you that last video, but I just want to say before I do, I am on the website, Buy Me a Coffee. So if you guys do enjoy my work and want to help support the channel, the link to that website is down below. Buy me a coffee or buy me a few coffees, it's up to you. And of course, as a thank you, I will even send you free Patreon content to your email as a thank you, because I always like to say thank you. And also, please hit that subscribe button. As I say, subscribe to survive. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the video, because I really love to hear it. You guys, your feedback means a lot to me and keeps me going, keeps me motivated. Okay? And yeah, that's it for today's video. So enjoy this last clip, Until next time, Lionel signing off. Have a good one.
The plasma apocalypse is happening. It is not something to be afraid of. I'm not spreading fear. Let me get that out of the way right now. I've been talking about this coming for the last 10 years. So have people like Jay Dreamers, many other people. And you have to understand why this is not in the mainstream, why they're refraining from telling you what's actually going on. Because they're just saying things like, oh, the aurora is going to be down in Florida. You'll be able to view it from Florida. It's crazy, right? Hey, it happens every once in a while. Jim, tell us about the weather. Right? They're ignoring it. And the reason for that is because the ancestors showed you, carved it into stone, what our world is. The stick figure with the cup on the bottom and the cup on the top, that's a torus field. That is a magnetic field shaped into a torus shape above and below, and that's what our world is made of. There's an inert plane that runs through the center of that, or at the bottom of each torus field. Inert plane. I've shown you in videos how this works. Matter is suspended upon nothing in a primer field because it's a magnetic field. And it has a vibration. And therefore, matter will coalesce at the center in a disc shape. Through the center of the vortex vertically, through the system vertically is a vortex. And that's where all the energy is running in, north, out, south. That's where north and south come from. There's only one north pole. Okay? That whole system has been wobbling, and that's where you get your precession of the equinox. It's not a ball inside of anything. It's a plane. And it's not the plane that's wobbling. It's the torus field that is wobbling. Why it's wobbling? I don't know. Was it knocked off balance? Is that why we're returning to Christ, which is symmetry and balance? From a polarized world? Polarized is when something is going back and forth, like a top. The top is wobbling, it's unstable, it's spinning slowly. As it uprights itself, it spins faster and faster and faster, and it changes in its frequency to a higher octave. It becomes perfectly balanced and stable. Is that what's happening in our world? Are we returning to Christ? Well, that's what we were told. And it wasn't saying that Christ returning and all eyes will see Christ in the sky was a man in the robe. How can the entire population, if we're on a ball, how can every single eye see the return of a man in a robe? No. But if you're on a plane and everybody's looking toward the center and you're looking up in the sky at the return of the age of Christ, which is symmetry and balance, as everything starts to change frequency and speed up into the next octave. You're going into the next octave, the next dimensional plane. It's the end of duality and polarity and imbalance in the return of Christ. That's what it means. That's why the mainstream isn't saying any of this. They're not telling you what's actually happening. For those of you who haven't been watching my videos about explaining the primer field, which is the flat earth model, and you ridicule it and you think it's ridiculous and stupid, just understand something. It's science. It's not what the disinformation campaign has put forth, which is a little floating dish in the void of infinity. That's not what it is, any more than a galaxy is a dish floating in space. A galaxy is a primer field. It has a central vortex, which is called a black hole. It's not an actual thing. It's not a hole. It's where energy is moving faster than the speed of light. It spirals. The energy does. And it creates a plane of inertia, which is motionless at 0 point energy, where everything slows down to a halt. And if it moves at all, you feel it. Trust me, when there's an earthquake, you feel it. Why is that? Because it wasn't moving before. And now it is. That's why you feel it. So it's hard for some people to wrap their minds around this. I get it. But it doesn't do you any justice, any good. It's not good for you to just simply sit back and believe the lies you've been told and not even investigate it, not even question anyone in the mainstream, when you know that the controlling entities of this world lie. That's a no-brainer. They lie. And why do they do it? For control and power. It's very simple. So you've got to get past that whole thing where you think authority figures don't lie to you. And then maybe you'll be able to at least question your reality. So what happens during this shift? Are we going to float up into the sky? I don't think so. But if that happened, then it happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I think the whole story of going up into the air was an analogy or metaphor for your consciousness being raised. Because remember, it doesn't matter what physically happens in the world, because you can't take your physical body or material things with you into the higher dimensional planes. You're not here for a long period of time. You're born, you live a few years, and you're gone. That's it. It's an experience, that's all. So why would you worry about things like that in the first place? You know, it could take a long, long time for the entire pole shift to happen as you return back to the golden age, right? So your generation may not even see the results of that pole shift. And, you know, during your lifetime, lots of things can happen. You can fall down the stairs, break your neck, you know, like before you see anything in the world on that scale happening that you would be afraid of. Why would you be afraid of anything? You shouldn't fear anything, because that's what being self-realized is about. Self-actualization is, yeah, you might be initially afraid when something happens. That's your animal instinct kicking in. But your higher consciousness says, hey, bring it. You know, it kicks in. When someone's in danger, you don't sit there and go, well, I'm not going in there to save him. Maybe some people do. But your higher consciousness will say, go. Your higher consciousness is when you shut down your fear, fight or flight system. You shut that down and you act from your heart. And that's where we're headed. We're moving into an era of where we start acting from our heart center instead of our fear and our animal urges and our animal instincts, purely. So we could see incredible things in the sky. We already are seeing these things. The sun and the moon, and they're changing, and we're seeing what we call UFOs, which are many times just spiritual beings. But then there's also the government they're creating these devices that we consider UFOs because we haven't seen them before. Is this false information? No. I'm saying they admitted to that. The government will admit that they're creating crafts, reverse engineering them. It's all part of the controlled disclosure going on right now. So I'm not saying anything that nobody else has said. But none of that matters if you're on a spiritual journey and a spiritual path. The whole reason that it matters that you understand the flat earth model is because it is a spiritual model. It is the template or temple or the Holy Grail. And that is the electromagnetic field. The electromagnetic field is in you and it's in the world and it shapes everything. And now it's going from being imbalanced back to being upright and stable. It's really simple.